The night before my wedding, I walked into my office to grab my vows, and I found my fiancé's pants on my secretary's desk. But here's what Marcus didn't know. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart like some broken woman begging for an explanation. No, I pulled out my phone and I recorded everything. 24 hours later, I walked down that aisle in my $15,000 dress. I smiled at 300 guests, and I destroyed his entire life in front of everyone he's ever known. This is the story of how I turned my wedding day into his funeral. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video so other women can find this story. And comment below. Tell me what city you're watching from. I want to know how far this message of strength is reaching tonight. But before I tell you what happened at that altar, you need to understand something. My secretary, she wasn't just any woman. Any possible? She was someone I saved. Someone I pulled out of poverty with my own 2 hands. Someone who sat in my house, ate my food, called me sister, and looked me in my eyes every single day while she was sleeping with my man. And Marcus. That man had a secret so dark, even I didn't know about it. Not until my grandmother's lawyer showed up at my door the morning of my wedding with an envelope that changed everything. My name is Victoria James. Everyone calls me Tori. I'm 36 years old, and 3 days before my wedding, I thought I had it all figured out. Let me take you back to where this nightmare began. It was a Thursday morning, 3 days before I was supposed to become Mrs. Marcus Wellington. I woke up at 5:30 like I always do. The sun wasn't even up yet, but I was already moving. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. The woman who gets up before the world and makes things happen. Marcus was still sleeping beside me. He looked peaceful, beautiful even. This man who had gotten down on one knee in front of our entire church congregation and promised to love me for the rest of his life. I remember looking at him that morning and thinking, Lord, thank you. Thank you for finally sending me my person. I got up quietly, careful not to wake him, and went to the kitchen to start breakfast. That was our routine. I cooked. He slept in. I told myself it was because he worked hard that he needed his rest. Funny how we tell ourselves stories to avoid seeing the truth. By the time the eggs were done and the coffee was brewing, Marcus came downstairs. He was already on his phone typing something with both thumbs. When he saw me, he smiled that smile, the one that made me fall in love with him 3 years ago at that business conference. "Good morning, beautiful," he said. Then he kissed me on the forehead and sat down at the table still looking at his phone. I set his plate in front of him. "Who are you texting so early?" He didn't look up. "Just work stuff. You know how it is. I didn't push. That was my first mistake. One of many." "I can't wait to marry you, baby," he said, finally putting his phone down. 3 more days and you're officially mine." I smiled. I believed every word. By 8 o'clock, I was walking into James' creative agency. My agency. The one I built from absolutely nothing. 15 years ago, I was a 21-year-old girl from Southside Atlanta with a dream and $47 in my bank account. Now I had 45 employees, a corner office downtown, and clients that paid me more for one campaign than my mama made in a whole year growing up. When I walked through those doors, my team greeted me like they always did. "Good morning, Miss James. Looking good, boss. Hey, Tori, the Henderson file is on your desk." And then there was Destiny, my secretary, my project, my good deed that I thought God was going to bless me for. She was already at her desk with my coffee ready. Oat milk latte, extra shot, no sugar. Exactly how I liked it. "Good morning, boss lady," she said, handing me the cup. "You look stressed. Are you okay?" I took the coffee and sighed. Wedding stuff. You know how it is. My mother-in-law has opinions about everything. Destiny laughed. "That woman is something else. But hey, just 3 more days and it'll all be over. You'll be on a beach somewhere with your fine husband." I smiled at her. Destiny Brooks, 27 years old, single mother. The woman I had found 2 years ago at a church charity event, living in a shelter with her 5-year-old son. I saw something in her that day. Potential, hunger, the same look I used to have when I was young and desperate and determined to be somebody. So I gave her a chance. I trained her. I promoted her. I paid the deposit on her apartment. I bought Christmas presents for her son. I treated her like family because that's who I am. That's who my grandmother raised me to be. Nana Ruth always said, baby, when God blesses you, you bless others. That's how the kingdom works. So I blessed Destiny, and she repaid me by sleeping with my fiancé on my desk. But I didn't know that yet. Not on that Thursday morning. On that Thursday morning, I was still living in my fairy tale, still believing that hard work and a good heart meant you got a happy ending. The morning went by fast. I had a meeting with a major client, one of those Fortune 500 companies that used to laugh me out of the room when I was just starting out. Now they were paying me $200,000 to rebrand their entire company. I handled that meeting like the boss I am. Professional, strategic, in control. That's what people don't understand about me. I didn't get lucky. I didn't marry into this. I didn't have a daddy who handed me a check. I built James Creative Agency with my own 2 hands, my own ideas, my own sleepless nights. Every chair in that office was bought with money I earned. Every employee's salary came from deals I closed. So when Marcus started asking about adding his name to my business accounts, I should have paid attention. But love makes you stupid. Love makes you blind. And I was so in love with that man that I couldn't see the snake coiling around my ankle. That afternoon, he called me at the office. Hey, babe, have you thought more about adding my name to the accounts? You know, for after we're married. It just makes things easier. I was distracted looking at contracts. Let's talk about it after the honeymoon, Marcus. I have a lot going on right now. There was a pause, a long pause. Then his voice came back different somehow. Colder. Right. After the honeymoon. Sure. Looking back, I should have heard the disappointment in his voice. I should have wondered why a man who supposedly loved me was more concerned about my bank accounts than my stress level 3 days before our wedding. But I didn't. I just kept working. I just kept believing. And when Destiny mentioned casually that Marcus had stopped by the office earlier looking for some files, I didn't think twice about it. What files? I asked. She shrugged. Something about the Henderson account I don't know. He said he'd talk to you about it. Marcus didn't work on my accounts. Marcus was a financial consultant with his own clients, his own business. At least that's what he told me. But I brushed it off. I had a wedding to plan. I had a life to live. I didn't have time to question why my future husband was digging through my business files. That was my second mistake. That Thursday evening, I had my final dress fitting. And you know black women don't do anything alone, especially not something this important. So my girls came with me. Carmen Hayes has been my best friend since we were 18 years old at Howard University. She's a corporate lawyer now, sharp as a knife and twice as dangerous. Carmen doesn't trust anybody, and she definitely didn't trust Marcus. She'd been telling me something was off about him since the day we started dating. Monica Lawson is my cousin, but she's more like a sister. She owns a hair salon in Buckhead, knows everybody's business in Atlanta, and prays over everything. If you need someone to speak in tongues and lay hands on your situation, Mo is your girl. And then there's Denise Carter. She's older than us, 42, married for 20 years to a good man. She's like a church mother figure to our group. Wise, calm, the one who tells you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. We were in the private room at the bridal boutique. I was standing on that little platform in my dress, this beautiful ivory gown that cost more than my first car. My girls were sitting around me with champagne in their hands, but I could feel the tension in the room. Carmen was the first one to speak up. Tori, can I say something? And you can't get mad at me. I looked at her through the mirror. What, Carmen? Have you gotten that prenup signed yet? I exhaled. Not this again. Carmen, we've talked about this. No, hear me out. She put down her champagne glass and stood up. You built that company from nothing. From nothing, Tori. And Marcus, what exactly does he do? He's a financial consultant, for who I've never seen a client. I've never seen an office. I've never seen him do anything except drive that fancy car that you're making payments on. Monica jumped in. Carmen, stop. It's her wedding week. Let the woman enjoy her moment. But Carmen wasn't backing down. I'm her lawyer and her best friend. I have to say this. That agency is worth $3 million. If this marriage goes south and there's no prenup, he could take half of everything you worked your whole life for. The room got quiet. I stepped down from the platform and faced my friends. I know y'all mean well, My voice was tight defensive. But I prayed about this. God brought Marcus into my life for a reason. I've been so focused on work, on success, on building this empire, I almost missed love. He's my person. Denise spoke then in that calm voice she has. Baby, nobody's saying don't get married. We're saying protect what you built. That's not about love. That's about wisdom. Your Nana Ruth would say the same thing. The mention of my grandmother made my chest tight. Nana Ruth had passed 2 years ago, and not a day went by that I didn't miss her. She was the wisest woman I ever knew. And if I was being honest with myself, she had tried to warn me about Marcus before she died. But I didn't want to hear it. Carmen walked over and took my hands. Just promise me you'll ask him to sign the prenup before Saturday. Just ask him. If he loves you like he says he does, he won't have a problem with it. I looked at my best friend's face. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to protect me. Fine, I'll talk to him tomorrow, I promise. The tension broke a little after that. We went back to champagne and laughter, trying to recapture the joy of the moment. But something had shifted in my spirit, a seed of doubt that I couldn't quite shake. Then Monica said something that I should have paid more attention to. Hey, Tori, she said carefully. You know, Destiny's been acting strange lately. What do you mean? My niece works at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. She said she saw Destiny there last week, dressed real nice, with a man. I laughed it off. Maybe she finally has a boyfriend. Good for her. Monica and Carmen exchanged a look. I caught it, but I didn't understand it. Monica shrugged. Yeah, maybe. We finished the fitting. We took pictures. We hugged goodbye. And I went home to the man I was supposed to marry in 3 days, completely unaware that my whole world was about to collapse. That night, Marcus came home late. He said he was out with his groomsmen planning bachelor party stuff. He smelled like cologne, expensive cologne, the kind I didn't buy him. How was the fitting, he asked, kissing me on the cheek. It was good. The dress is perfect. He smiled. You're going to be the most beautiful bride Atlanta has ever seen. I believed him. I curled up next to him in our bed in the condo that I paid for, and I fell asleep thinking about our future. I didn't know that future was already dead. I just hadn't buried it yet. Friday morning came too fast. 1 day before my wedding. 1 day before my life was supposed to change forever. I was at the office by 7 trying to get everything in order before my honeymoon. 2 weeks in Bora Bora. Crystal blue water, overwater bungalows. Just me and the man I loved. Or the man I thought I loved. The man I thought loved me. Around 10 o'clock, Marcus called. Hey, babe, can you transfer $5,000 to my account? Wedding emergency. I stopped what I was doing. $5,000. What emergency? Just trust me. Okay, I'll explain later. Marcus, what is this for? His voice got tight. Why are you questioning me? We're about to be married. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine, right? That should have been my wake-up call. That should have been the moment I realized that Marcus Wellington saw me as an ATM, not a wife. But I was stressed. I was tired. And I had spent 3 years training myself to give this man whatever he wanted. So I transferred the money. Right after I hung up, I called him back. Hey, I need you to come to the office today. We need to sign some paperwork before tomorrow. What paperwork? Just some things Carmen put together. Prenup stuff. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I thought we agreed we didn't need that, he said finally. His voice was cold now, a voice I'd never heard before. It's just a formality, baby. It protects both of us. It says you don't trust me. Marcus, that's not... We'll talk later. I'm busy. And then he hung up on me. For the first time in 3 years, Marcus Wellington hung up on me. I sat there staring at my phone, trying to understand what had just happened. This wasn't the man who proposed to me. This wasn't the man who called me beautiful every morning. This was someone else, someone who emerged when money was on the table. But I didn't have time to process it because that's when Patricia Wellington walked through my office door. Marcus's mother. Lord, give me strength. Victoria, darling. She breezed in like she owned the place, just stopping by to discuss the seating chart. I forced a smile. Of course, Patricia. What can I help you with? Patricia Wellington was 62 years old, widowed, and had been living off the image of old money since her husband died 10 years ago. The truth was her husband left debts disguised as wealth. The Wellingtons were broke. But Patricia had raised Marcus to marry up to find a woman who could restore their status. I just didn't realize I was that woman. Not yet. She walked around my office, touching things, examining my awards and my degrees, like she was appraising them. "This is a lovely space," she said. "A bit small for a growing business, don't you think? After you and Marcus are settled, he could really help you expand." I kept my voice neutral. "Marcus works in finance. My agency is creative. They're different fields." She smiled that fake smile of hers. "Families should work together, dear. That's how you build dynasties. You know Marcus has always had such a head for business. I'm sure he could add so much value here." I understood what she was saying. She wasn't being subtle. Patricia Wellington expected her son to walk into my company and take over. She expected me to hand over what I built, because that's what good wives do, over my dead body. But I just smiled and nodded and counted the minutes until she left. After Patricia finally went away, I noticed Destiny acting strange. She was on her phone in the corner giggling at something. When she saw me looking, she quickly hid the screen. "Everything okay?" I asked. She looked guilty, like a child caught stealing cookies. "Yeah, just my son's school, nothing important." But something caught my eye. Destiny was wearing new earrings, diamond studs, expensive ones, the kind that cost at least $1,000. "Those are beautiful," I said. "Are they new?" She touched her ear, suddenly nervous. "Oh, these, my sister got them for me. Birthday present?" Her birthday was in April. This was October. But I didn't push. I had a wedding tomorrow. I had vendors to confirm. I had a fiancé who wasn't answering my calls about a prenup. I didn't have time to wonder how my secretary could suddenly afford diamond earrings when 2 years ago she was sleeping in a shelter. That night, we had the rehearsal dinner. Marcus was charming, charismatic, the perfect groom-to-be. He made toasts about our future. He held my hand. He looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. And I believed it. I believed all of it. After dinner, he said he was going to meet his groomsmen. "Bachelor party eve," he said. "Nothing crazy, just drinks." I went home alone. I tried on my dress one more time in front of the mirror. I practiced saying my vows. And then I realized I'd left them at the office. The handwritten vows I'd spent weeks perfecting. They were on my desk. It was almost 10 at night, but I couldn't get married without those vows. So I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and drove downtown. If I had just stayed home. If I had just improvised my vows. If I had just gone to bed and trusted the universe. But I didn't. I went to my office. And that decision changed everything. The building was quiet when I got there, almost 11 at night on a Friday. The security guard nodded at me when I walked in. He was used to seeing me at odd hours. That's what it takes to build an empire. Sacrifice, sleepless nights, being the first one in and the last one out. I took the elevator to the 5th floor. The hallway was dark. Everyone had gone home hours ago. But as I walked toward my office, I noticed something strange. There was light coming from under my door. A soft glow that shouldn't have been there. My heart started beating a little faster. Maybe I left a lamp on. Maybe the cleaning crew was still here. I kept walking, and that's when I heard it. Sounds. Unmistakable sounds. The kind of sounds that don't need explanation. The kind of sounds that reach into your chest and squeeze your heart until you can't breathe. For a moment I just stood there in the hallway, frozen, unable to move, unable to think. My body knew what was happening before my mind could catch up. My hand reached for the doorknob. Time slowed down. I could hear my own blood pumping in my ears. I could feel every heartbeat, every breath. I turned the handle. The door swung open. And there they were, on my desk. The desk I bought with the check from my first big client, the one that made me believe I could really do this. The desk where I signed contracts and made deals and built a life out of nothing. Marcus, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry in 12 hours, Destiny, my secretary, the woman I pulled out of poverty and treated like family, together, in my office, in my sanctuary, the place I built with my own hands. For a moment, neither of them noticed me. They were too caught up in each other, too lost in their betrayal to see that their victim was standing right there watching. And something happened to me in that moment. Something I didn't expect. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't fall to my knees and ask God why. Something inside me went cold, ice cold, like a switch flipped and all the emotion just drained out of me. I thought about my grandmother, Nana Ruth, the wisest woman I ever knew, and I heard her voice in my head as clear as if she was standing right beside me. Baby, when a man shows you who he really is, don't argue, don't cry, just watch and plan. So that's what I did. I pulled out my phone, I opened the camera, and I pressed record. For 47 seconds I stood there and documented everything, every sound, every movement, every moan, every whispered word of betrayal. Evidence. That's what Nana Ruth would have called it. Receipts. Destiny saw me first. Her eyes went wide and she screamed. A high-pitched sound that made Marcus jump back like he'd been electrocuted. He turned and saw me standing in the doorway, phone in my hand, face completely blank. Tori, baby, it's not what it looks like. I stopped recording, put my phone in my pocket, and looked at the man I was supposed to marry. Don't. He was scrambling for his pants, trying to cover himself. I can explain. Just let me explain. I said, don't. My voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was calm. Too calm. And that scared him more than any screaming ever could. Destiny was crying now, pulling her dress back on mascara, running down her face. Miss James, please, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I looked at her. The woman I saved. The woman whose rent I paid. The woman whose child I bought Christmas presents for. Put your clothes on. She was shaking, her whole body trembling. I did that. My silence did that. Marcus stepped toward me, hands out like he was approaching a wild animal. Baby, listen to me. It was a mistake. One time. It didn't mean anything. I almost laughed. Almost. Because even now, even caught in the act, this man was lying to my face. Get dressed, I said. Both of you. They scrambled to put themselves together while I stood there watching. Not moving, not blinking, just watching like a scientist observing an experiment. Marcus tried again when he was dressed. Tori, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. I cut him off. I'll see you at the church tomorrow. His face went white. What, I'm not canceling the wedding? Confusion replaced fear in his eyes. You're not, but I thought... I looked at Destiny, who was still crying, still shaking, trying to gather her things. And you, I said to her, be there too. Front row. I insist. She stared at me like I had lost my mind. Then I turned and walked out. Left them standing there, confused, terrified, not understanding what had just happened. They thought I was in shock. They thought I didn't understand what I saw. They thought I was some weak woman who was going to crawl home and cry herself to sleep. But they didn't know me. Not really. They didn't know that while Marcus was stuttering excuses, my mind was already 3 moves ahead. They didn't know that I was raised by a woman who taught me that revenge is a dish best served cold and calculated. I had one night to turn my wedding into Marcus Wellington's funeral. I got in my car, I drove to Carmen's house, and when she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't ask questions. She just stepped aside and let me in. What happened? She asked. I pulled out my phone, opened the video, showed her. Carmen watched for 3 seconds before she grabbed the phone and paused it. I'm going to kill him. No. I took my phone back. We're going to destroy him. She looked at me for a long moment, saw something in my eyes that she'd never seen before. What do you need? Call Monica. Call Denise. Get them here now. And then cancel all your plans for tomorrow. Carmen nodded slowly. What are we doing? I sat down on her couch, pulled out all the evidence, laid out everything I was going to need. We're throwing a wedding, the kind Marcus Wellington will never forget, and that's when I started to plan. Because here's what my grandmother taught me. When life knocks you down, you don't stay down. You don't beg, you don't cry. You get up, you dust yourself off, and you make sure the people who hurt you never see it coming. Marcus wanted to marry me for my money. Destiny wanted to steal my life. Patricia wanted to take over my company. They all thought I was just a soft woman with a kind heart. They were about to learn that kindness and stupidity are not the same thing. And tomorrow, they were going to see exactly who Victoria James really is. Carmen's living room became our war room that night. By midnight, Monica and Denise had arrived still in their pajamas, faces tight with concern and confusion. I sat on Carmen's leather couch with the evidence spread out on the coffee table in front of me. My phone with the video. Bank statements I had pulled up on my laptop. Text messages. Everything I had gathered in the 2 hours since I walked out of that office. Monica was the first one to break the silence after watching the video. Lord Jesus, give me strength not to catch a charge tonight. She was pacing back and forth, hands clenched into fists. I knew something was wrong with that girl. I knew it. My spirit was telling me, and I didn't listen. Denise sat next to me, her hand on my knee. Baby, how are you feeling? Talk to us. I looked at her. My face was calm. Too calm. That's what scared them most, I think. They expected tears. They expected screaming. They expected me to fall apart the way any normal woman would after catching her fiancé with another woman the night before her wedding. But I wasn't falling apart. I was calculating. I'm fine, I said, and I meant it. I'm not sad. I'm not heartbroken. I'm angry, and anger is useful. Carmen sat down across from me, her lawyer brain already working. Okay, walk us through this. What do we know? I took a deep breath and laid it all out. Marcus has been sleeping with Destiny for at least 8 months. That's based on texts I found when I went through his email tonight. He uses the same password for everything because he's arrogant and stupid. Carmen nodded. What else? He's been asking me to add his name to my business accounts for months. He asked me to transfer $5,000 today for a wedding emergency. He hung up on me when I mentioned the prenup, and his mother showed up at my office talking about how Marcus could help me expand the business. Monica stopped pacing. They're after your money. They're after everything I said. But here's what they don't know. They don't know that I know, and they don't know what I'm capable of. Denise squeezed my knee. What are you thinking, baby? I'm thinking that Marcus Wellington wanted to marry me tomorrow, so I'm going to let him. The room went silent. Carmen leaned forward. Explain. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. All those lights. All those people living their lives unaware that my world had just collapsed. If I cancel the wedding, I said slowly, Marcus walks away. He loses nothing, maybe some embarrassment. But he moves on to the next victim. He finds another woman to con. That's true, Carmen said. But if I go through with the wedding, if I let him think he's won, I turn to face them. Then I can destroy him, publicly, completely, in front of everyone he's ever tried to impress. Monica's eyes went wide. Girl, what are you planning? I walked back to the coffee table and picked up my phone. This video is going to play at my wedding reception, on the big screens, in front of 300 guests, in front of his mother, in front of everyone who thinks Marcus Wellington is a good Christian man. Denise inhaled sharply. Victoria, I'm not done. I sat back down and opened my laptop. Let me show you what else I found tonight. I had spent the last 2 hours digging through Marcus's digital life. His email, his bank accounts, his credit card statements. Everything he thought was hidden. Marcus has $89,000 in gambling debt, I said, showing them the screen. He's been betting on sports online for years. He's in deep with bookies. That's where my money has been going. Carmen's face hardened. That's why he needed the $5,000 today. There's more. I scrolled to another tab. He's been running romance scams, targeting older women, widows, taking their money with promises of love and investment opportunities. I found emails from at least 3 women he's stolen from. That's a federal crime, Carmen said. That's wire fraud. I know. Monica sat down heavily on the armchair. Oh my God. Tori, you were about to marry a criminal. I was about to marry a con man who saw me as his biggest score yet. I looked at each of my friends. But here's the thing. He made a mistake. He underestimated me. He thought I was just a soft woman with a kind heart and a fat bank account. Denise almost smiled. He thought wrong. He thought very wrong. Carmen stood up and started pacing, now her legal mind working overtime. Okay, If we're doing this, we need to do it right. First, the prenup. We need to get him to sign something before the ceremony." "Already thought of that," I said. "You're going to draft something tonight. Something with teeth. If he cheats, he owes me $500,000. All his debts remain his. He gets nothing from the marriage. He'll never sign that," Monica said. "He will if he thinks it's his only way to the altar," I said. "We make him desperate. We make him think I'm having second thoughts. Then we offer him the prenup as reassurance." Carmen nodded slowly. "That could work." "What else?" "The guest list. I want those women he scammed there. I want his bookie there. I want a reporter there. Everyone who can testify to who Marcus Wellington really is." "How are we going to find these women by tomorrow?" Monica asked. "I already have their names from the emails. Carmen, can you track them down?" Carmen pulled out her phone. "I know people who know people. Consider it done." "And Destiny?" Denise asked. "What about her?" I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Destiny will be there. Front row, just like I told her. She thinks I'm in shock. She thinks I'm going to pretend it didn't happen and marry Marcus anyway because I'm desperate." "You're going to expose her too," Monica said. "I'm going to expose everyone. By the time I'm done, Marcus Wellington and Destiny Brooks will have nothing. No money, no reputation, no future, nothing but each other and the consequences of what they did." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Carmen spoke. "You know this is going to be a scandal. It's going to be all over the news, all over social media." "I know. Your business could be affected. Clients might not want the drama." I looked at her steadily. "Or they'll see a woman who doesn't let anyone walk over her. They'll see strength. They'll see someone they want on their side." Carmen nodded slowly. "Fair point." Denise stood up and came over to me. She took my hands in hers and looked me in the eyes. "Baby, I just want to make sure you're okay. This is a lot, and revenge, it can eat you up inside, even when they deserve it." I squeezed her hands. "I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this for justice. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes. Revenge is emotional. Justice is strategic. Revenge makes you feel better for a moment. Justice makes sure they can never do this to anyone else." Denise studied my face for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay then. What do you need from me? I need you to pray. I need you to keep me grounded. And tomorrow, I need you to be my rock when everything goes down." She hugged me tight. "I've got you, baby. We've all got you." Monica joined the hug. Then Carmen. The four of us stood there in the middle of that living room holding each other. I had lost my fiancé. I had lost my secretary. I had lost the future I thought I was building. But I still had my sisters, and with them beside me, I could do anything. "All right," Carmen said, pulling back. "We've got about 8 hours until this wedding. Let's get to work." And we did. We worked through the night. Carmen drafted the prenup with language so precise and devastating that Marcus would be signing his own death warrant. Monica made calls, tracked down the women Marcus had scammed, convinced them to come to the wedding with promises of justice. Denise prayed over everything, kept us focused, kept us from letting anger override strategy. By the time the sun came up on my wedding day, we were ready. I hadn't slept. I didn't need to. Adrenaline was pumping through my veins. Purpose was fueling every cell in my body. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it was going to be the day Victoria James took back her power. And Marcus Wellington. He had no idea what was coming. Saturday morning, my wedding day, the day I was supposed to become Mrs. Marcus Wellington. I was at Carmen's house, still in last night's clothes, running on coffee and rage when the doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. Carmen went to answer it and came back with a confused look on her face. "There's a man here. Says he's your grandmother's lawyer, Jerome Washington." My heart stopped. Nana Ruth's lawyer. I hadn't seen him since the reading of her will 2 years ago. I walked to the door. Jerome Washington was an older black man, distinguished gray at the temples, wearing a suit even at 7 in the morning. He had been my grandmother's attorney for 30 years, one of the few people she trusted completely. "Miss James," he said, nodding at me, "I apologize for the early hour, but your grandmother gave me specific instructions. This letter was to be delivered to you on your wedding day. No sooner, no later." He held out an envelope, cream-colored, thick. My grandmother's handwriting on the front, my sweet Victoria. I took it with trembling hands. "Thank you, Mr. Washington. There's more," he said. "May I come in?" "What I have to tell you is going to take some time." I led him into Carmen's living room. My friends gathered around, sensing that something big was about to happen. Jerome sat down and pulled out a folder. "Before you read that letter, I need to explain something. Your grandmother was a wise woman, wiser than most people knew. Before she passed, she came to me with concerns about your relationship with Marcus Wellington. I felt cold all over. What kind of concerns she had him investigated?" Jerome opened the folder, privately, thoroughly. What she found troubled her greatly. He handed me a stack of papers. Photos, documents, financial records. Marcus Wellington comes from a family that appears wealthy, but is actually deeply in debt. His father left nothing but bills disguised as assets. His mother has been living on borrowed money and borrowed time for years. I looked at the photos. Marcus at a casino, Marcus with women I didn't recognize, Marcus meeting with men who looked dangerous. Your grandmother discovered that Marcus had been targeting successful single women for years. He identifies them, charms them, and eventually gains access to their finances. 3 women before you lost significant amounts of money to him. One lost her home. Another lost her retirement. My hands were shaking. Why didn't she tell me? She was gathering more evidence, Jerome said softly. She wanted to be certain before she came to you. She knew how much you loved him. She knew you wouldn't believe her without proof. And then her health declined faster than any of us expected. She passed before she could complete her investigation. I pressed my hand to my mouth, fighting back tears. This was the first time I had felt like crying since I walked into that office last night. "But she left you this letter," Jerome continued. "And she left you something else. Something Marcus Wellington has apparently been waiting for." "What do you mean your grandmother's estate was larger than what was disclosed in the initial reading of her will? There is an additional inheritance. $2.3 million held in a trust. The terms of the trust specify that you receive this money on your wedding day." The room went silent. $2.3 million. Jerome leaned forward. "Miss James, I need you to understand something. The only people who knew about this trust were myself, your grandmother, and the bank that holds it. I never disclosed this information to anyone. But somehow Marcus Wellington knew about it. I have evidence that he contacted the bank 6 months ago, posing as your financial advisor, attempting to get information about the trust." Carmen stood up. "That's how he knew. That's why he pushed for a quick wedding. It all made sense now. The proposal that came faster than I expected, the insistence on a big wedding, the constant pressure to set a date, the questions about my finances, the attempts to get on my accounts. Marcus wasn't marrying me for love. He wasn't even marrying me for my business. He was marrying me for my grandmother's money. The money she left me because she loved me. The money she earned from a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice, and he knew about it before I did." "There's one more thing," Jerome said. He reached into the folder and pulled out more photographs. "These were taken by the private investigator your grandmother hired." I looked at the photos, and my blood turned to ice. Marcus and Destiny, together, in public, holding hands, kissing, dating. "These are from 2 years ago," Jerome said. "Before you ever hired Miss Brooks as your secretary." Monica gasped. "Wait, 2 years ago? But Tori only hired Destiny 2 years ago at that charity event." I stared at the photos, my mind racing, connecting dots that I should have connected long ago. The charity event where I met Destiny, where I found her homeless, desperate, begging for help, where I felt moved to save her, to give her a job, to bring her into my life. It wasn't random. It wasn't fate. It wasn't God putting someone in my path that I could help. It was a setup. "They planned this," I whispered. "From the beginning. They planted her in my life." Jerome nodded slowly. "It appears so. Miss Brooks's homelessness may have been staged. The private investigator found records of her living in an apartment paid for by an anonymous source during the same period she claimed to be in a shelter. I closed my eyes, let the truth wash over me, let it burn away the last traces of the woman I was yesterday. For 2 years I had been played. For 2 years, I had treated Destiny like family while she reported back to Marcus about my business, my finances, my vulnerabilities. For 2 years, she ate my food, took my money, called me sister, and laughed about it behind my back. I opened my eyes. I was not the same woman who closed them. "Now read your grandmother's letter," Jerome said gently. "She wanted you to know the truth, all of it." I opened the envelope with steady hands, unfolded the paper, and read my grandmother's final words to me. "My sweet Victoria, if you're reading this, it's your wedding day. And if I know you stubborn, strong, too trusting, you probably need to hear this." I had my lawyer look into Marcus Wellington. "Baby, he's not who he says he is. His family is broke. He has debts he's hidden from you. And there's a woman, a young woman he's been seen with, someone close to you. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you this myself. I was waiting for proof. I got it. But the Lord called me home first. The $2.3 million I'm leaving you, it's yours. Don't let any man get his hands on it. I put it in a trust. He cannot touch it unless you sign it over yourself. You are my legacy, Victoria. Don't let anyone steal your crown. I love you more than words can say. Be strong. Be wise. And remember what I taught you. When a snake shows its fangs, don't cry. Don't beg. Just cut off its head. Love always, Nana Ruth P.S. I also left $500,000 for Carmen. She's good people. She'll help you fight." I looked up from the letter. Tears were streaming down my face. But they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of gratitude. Even from beyond the grave, my grandmother was protecting me. Even in death, she was giving me the tools I needed to fight. Carmen was crying too. She left me money to help you fight. She knew, I said. She knew I would need you. She knew I would need all of you. Denise put her arm around me. She raised you right, baby. She raised a warrior. I wiped my eyes, folded the letter carefully, put it in my pocket close to my heart. Then I looked at my friends, at Jerome, at all the evidence spread across the table. "The trust," I said to Jerome. "Can Marcus access it in any way if we get married? No. The trust is ironclad. Only you can access it. Only you can sign it over. Marriage does not give him any rights to it." "Good." I stood up. "Then the wedding is still on." Jerome looked surprised. "Miss James, after everything you've learned?" I smiled. "Mr. Washington, my grandmother taught me that the best revenge is served in public. Marcus Wellington thinks he's about to hit the jackpot. Instead, he's about to lose everything he's ever wanted in front of everyone he's ever tried to impress." I looked at Carmen. "Is the prenup ready? Printed and ready for signature?" I looked at Monica. "Are the witnesses coming?" "The women he scammed. 3 of them confirmed. They'll be in the back of the church." I looked at Denise. "Did you pray over this all night long, baby? The Lord is with you." I nodded. "Then let's go get married." Jerome stood up, a slight smile on his face. "Your grandmother would be proud." "I know she would." I touched the letter in my pocket. "She's watching, and I'm about to make her very, very proud." The next few hours were a blur of strategic preparation. While most brides were getting their makeup done and taking photos with their bridesmaids, I was coordinating the most elaborate takedown Atlanta had ever seen. Carmen had the prenup ready by 9 in the morning. 15 pages of legal language that looked standard on the surface, but contained clauses that would destroy Marcus Wellington if he ever stepped out of line. "Walk me through it again," I said. Carmen spread the document on the table. Clause 7 states that any infidelity proven or admitted results in an immediate forfeiture of $500,000 to you. Clause 12 states that all debts incurred before the marriage remain the sole responsibility of the party who incurred them. That means his $89,000 in gambling debt stays his. And if we divorce Clause 15, all assets brought into the marriage remain with their original owner. Your business, your accounts, your grandmother's trust. None of it is considered marital property. He gets nothing. He'll never sign this. Carmen smiled. He will if he's desperate enough. And that's where Phase 1 comes in. Phase 1 was simple. Make Marcus think I was having second thoughts. Make him panic. Then offer the prenup as a reassurance, a way to prove his love. I picked up my phone and called him. He answered on the first ring, his voice cautious. "Baby? How are you? I've been trying to call you all night." I made my voice cold, distant. I'm fine. About last night. Marcus's voice was pleading now. I need to explain. It wasn't what it looked like. Destiny, she came on to me. I was drunk. It was a moment of weakness. It will never happen again. I let him ramble, let him dig himself deeper. Marcus, I said finally, I don't know if I can do this. What do you mean I mean the wedding? I mean us. I don't know if I can trust you anymore. Baby, please, his voice cracked. I love you. I love you more than anything. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever you need. Just don't cancel the wedding, please. I let the silence stretch, let him sweat. There is one thing I said slowly. Anything. Name it. Carmen has a prenup. I want you to sign it before the ceremony. A prenup. But we talked about this. You said we didn't need one. That was before. I made my voice hard. Before I caught you with my secretary on my desk. He was quiet for a long moment. What does it say? It protects both of us. If we're going to do this, if we're going to move past what happened, I need to know that you're serious. That this isn't about money. That you really love me. Of course I love you. The desperation in his voice was almost satisfying. I'll sign whatever you want. Just please let's get married today. Let's start our life together. Come to the church early, 10 o'clock. Carmen will have the paperwork. I'll be there. Thank you, baby. Thank you for giving me another chance. I won't let you down. I hung up without saying goodbye. Carmen was grinning. Hook, line, and sinker. Phase 2 was the guest list. Monica had been working the phone since 5 a.m. 3 of the women Marcus scammed have confirmed she reported. Gloria Henderson from Savannah. She lost $40,000. Patricia Moore from Birmingham. She lost her entire retirement fund, $62,000. And Jennifer Walsh from right here in Atlanta. She almost lost her house before she realized what he was doing. How are we getting them in? I told them they'll have front row seats to Marcus Wellington's destruction. They were very motivated. What about the bookie Dante Williams? He's Marcus's main guy. Owed $89,000 plus interest. I told him Marcus was coming into a lot of money today and might try to run. He'll be at the reception. And the reporter Jasmine King from Atlanta Buzz. She owes me a favor from that piece I did for her last year. She'll be in the back recording everything ready to post the second we give her the signal. I nodded. Perfect. Phase 3 was the technical setup. My IT guy from the office, a young man named Dante, who was loyal to me and hated Marcus, had been working on this since 3 a.m. The reception venue has a projection system, he explained over the phone. 2 big screens on either side of the dance floor. I've already tested the connection. I can feed any video from my laptop directly to those screens. All you have to do is give me the signal, and the whole room sees whatever you want them to see. And the video is ready. I've edited it into a highlight reel. The footage from last night, screenshots of his emails to the other women, photos from the private investigator. It's all there. 5 minutes of evidence that will end his life. Good. I want it queued up and ready. When I say the word, you hit play. Got it, boss. And Miss James. For what it's worth, I always knew that guy was trash. I smiled. Thanks, Dante. See you at the reception. Phase 4 was personal. I needed to see Xavier Brooks. Xavier was Destiny's brother, 29 years old. He worked at Marcus's so-called financial consulting firm. According to the information Jerome had given me, Xavier was the one who actually did the work while Marcus took the credit. But Xavier was also the one who had been feeding me information for the past 2 hours. He had called me at 6 a.m, said he had something I needed to see, said he was disgusted by what his sister and Marcus were doing, said he wanted to help me destroy them. I met him at a coffee shop near the church. He was already there when I arrived, a folder on the table in front of him. Miss James, he said, standing when I approached. Thank you for meeting me. I sat down across from him. Your sister has been sleeping with my fiancé. I know, and I'm sorry. He pushed the folder toward me. I've known for a while. I didn't say anything because Destiny is my sister. Blood is blood. But after what I learned last night, I can't stay quiet anymore. What did you learn? He opened the folder. Bank records, wire transfers, communications. Marcus isn't just cheating on you. He's been running a full-scale fraud operation. The romance scams, the gambling, that's just the surface. He's been embezzling from his own clients, elderly people who trusted him with their retirement funds. He's stolen over $300,000 in the past 2 years. I looked at the documents. Account numbers, names, amounts. This is federal level, I said. Yes, ma'am. He's looking at serious prison time if this comes out. Why are you giving me this? Xavier looked at me with something like shame in his eyes. Because my sister wasn't always like this. She used to be good, kind. But Marcus, he got in her head. He convinced her that you were just a rich woman who didn't deserve what you had. He convinced her that taking from you was fair, that it wasn't really stealing, it's still stealing. I know. And I can't watch them do this anymore. Marcus is a predator, and my sister, she became his accomplice. I gathered the documents. What do you want in return? Nothing. Just do what you're going to do. Expose them. Stop them. And maybe when this is all over, give my sister a chance to become the person she used to be, even if it's from a prison cell. I studied his face. He seemed genuine, seemed broken by what his family had become. Thank you, Xavier. This helps. There's one more thing. He handed me a USB drive. This has recordings, phone calls between Marcus and Destiny, planning sessions, conversations about you, about your money, about what they were going to do once they controlled your accounts. I took the drive. Why do you have this? Because I never trusted Marcus. I've been recording everything for months just in case. I never thought I'd actually use it. But here we are. I stood up. Xavier, you should be at the wedding today. Front row. You should see this happen. He shook his head. I can't. Destiny is still my sister. I can give you the weapons, Miss James, but I can't watch you use them. I understood. Family is complicated, even when family betrays you. I walked out of that coffee shop with enough evidence to bury Marcus Wellington 10 times over. And the wedding was in 3 hours. The church was beautiful. 300 white chairs arranged in perfect rows. Flowers everywhere, roses and lilies and orchids that filled the air with sweetness. Soft music playing, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, casting colored shadows on the floor. I stood in the bridal suite looking at myself in the mirror. $15,000 dress, flawless makeup, hair done in elegant twists, diamond earrings that my grandmother had given me for my 30th birthday. I looked like a bride. I looked like a woman about to have the happiest day of her life. Only my eyes told the truth. Cold, calculating, ready for war. Carmen knocked and entered. He's here. He signed it. I turned to face her. He didn't read it. He was too desperate, too afraid you'd cancel. He barely looked at it before he put his name on every page. I allowed myself a small smile. Good. Monica came in next. The women are here. Back row left side. Dante is set up by the screens. The reporter is in position. Everything is ready. What about Patricia Marcus's mother, front row right side, looking smug as ever? She has no idea. I turned back to the mirror, fixed an invisible strand of hair. Let me tell you about Patricia Wellington. That woman had been a thorn in my side since the day I started dating her son. She criticized everything about me. My clothes were too flashy. My business took too much time away from Marcus. My church wasn't the right denomination. My family wasn't prestigious enough. But what really bothered Patricia was that she couldn't control me. She couldn't manipulate me the way she manipulated everyone else. I was too successful, too independent, too unwilling to bow down to her. So she did the next best thing. She sent her son to marry me and take everything I had. What Patricia didn't understand was that I came from a long line of women who refused to be broken. My grandmother picked cotton until her fingers bled, then put herself through night school and built a small empire of her own. My mother raised me alone after my father died, working 3 jobs and still making sure I had everything I needed. We don't break, we don't bend, and we don't let anyone take what's ours. The door opened again. Denise entered with a serious expression. Baby Destiny is here. I raised an eyebrow. She actually came. Front row left side, wearing white if you can believe the audacity. She looks terrified. Good. She should be. I picked up my bouquet, took one last look in the mirror. Time to get married, I said. The music changed, the doors to the sanctuary opened, and I began my walk down the aisle, 300 pairs of eyes turned to watch me. I heard the gasps, the whispers about how beautiful I looked. I saw friends and family smiling, some already crying with joy, and at the end of the aisle, there was Marcus. He looked handsome in his tuxedo. He always looked handsome. That was part of his con. That face, that smile, that charm that made you believe every lie he ever told. He was smiling at me now, that beautiful, treacherous smile, probably thinking about the $2.3 million he was about to get his hands on, probably thinking about how he had fooled me completely, probably congratulating himself on pulling off the biggest score of his career. I smiled back. Let him think he was winning. Let him enjoy these last few minutes of believing his plan had worked. I passed the front rows as I walked. I saw Patricia beaming with triumph. I saw Destiny pale and shaking, but still there because I told her to be. I saw the women Marcus had scammed their faces hard with anticipation. And then I was at the altar, standing across from the man who had betrayed me in every way possible. Marcus took my hands. His palms were sweating. Nerves, I assumed, or maybe guilt. Either way, it was satisfying. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "I love you so much." I looked into his eyes, those lying eyes, those cheating eyes. "Let's get married," I said. The pastor began the ceremony, standard words about love and commitment and the sacred bond of marriage. I listened with half an ear, mentally preparing for what was coming. Marcus said his vows, a beautiful speech about how I was the best thing that ever happened to him, about how he couldn't wait to spend the rest of his life making me happy, about how he thanked God every day for bringing us together. Every word was a lie. Every syllable was poison wrapped in honey. The guests ate it up. I heard sniffles from the crowd, saw tissues being dabbed at eyes. They believed him. They all believed him. They were about to learn the truth. Victoria, the pastor, said, "It's time for your vows." I let go of Marcus's hands, reached into my bouquet where I had hidden a folded piece of paper. "Marcus." I began, my voice steady and clear. I had something beautiful written, words about love, about trust, about building a future together. I paused, looked at him. Let the moment stretch. But I think the truth is more important than poetry today. Don't you? Marcus's smile faltered slightly. "What do you mean, baby?" I turned to face the congregation, made eye contact with Dante near the screens, gave him a subtle nod. "I want to share something with our guests," I said into the microphone. "A video from last night." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus's face went pale. "Tori, what are you doing?" His voice was tight, panicked. I watched him, watched the fear creep into his eyes, watched him realize that his perfect plan was about to collapse. The screens on either side of the altar flickered to life, and then everyone saw exactly who Marcus Wellington really was. The video was clear. My office, my desk. Marcus and Destiny in a position that left nothing to the imagination. The sounds of their betrayal echoing through the sacred space of the church. Screams erupted from the congregation. Someone shouted, "Oh my God!" Someone else was crying. Patricia Wellington was on her feet, her face a mask of horror. "Turn it off!" Marcus screamed. "Turn it off!" But I shook my head. Let it play. Let them all see. The video shifted to screenshots of emails. Marcus promising love to elderly women, asking for money, making excuses for why he couldn't pay it back. Then photos from the private investigator. Marcus and Destiny together years before I ever hired her. Proof that their affair wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a long-term conspiracy. The video ended. The screens went dark. The church was silent, except for the sound of crying and whispered disbelief. I turned back to Marcus. He was shaking, tears streaming down his face. Not tears of remorse, tears of being caught. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said to the congregation, "I'd like to introduce you to the real Marcus Wellington." And then I began to speak. The silence in that church was deafening. 300 people sat frozen in their seats trying to process what they had just witnessed on those screens. The video of Marcus and Destiny, the emails, the photos, evidence of a betrayal so complete, so calculated, that it took their breath away. I stood at the altar microphone in hand, looking out at a sea of shocked faces. This was my moment, the moment I had been preparing for since I walked into that office last night. Marcus was behind me, still shaking, still crying those pathetic tears. He reached for my arm. "Tori, please, let me explain. It's not what you think." I pulled away from him, turned to face him, and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's exactly what I think, Marcus. You've been sleeping with my secretary for 8 months. But that's not even the worst part." I walked toward the congregation, leaving Marcus standing alone at the altar. "How many of you know the story of how I met Destiny Brooks?" I asked. "I met her at a church charity event 2 years ago. She was homeless, living in a shelter with her 5-year-old son. I felt moved by her story. I gave her a job. I paid for her apartment. I treated her like family." I paused, let my words sink in. What I didn't know was that her homelessness was staged. She and Marcus had been together for 2 years before I ever laid eyes on her. They planted her in my life. She was a spy, a mole, reporting back to Marcus about my business, my finances, my vulnerabilities. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I saw people turning to look at Destiny, who was shrinking in her seat, trying to disappear. But wait, there's more. I pulled out the documents that Jerome had given me, held them up for everyone to see. Marcus Wellington has $89,000 in gambling debt. He's been betting on sports, losing money. He doesn't have money he planned to replace with mine. I turned to the backs of the church where Dante Williams, the bookie, was standing with his arms crossed. "Mr. Williams, how much does Marcus owe you?" Dante's voice boomed through the church. $89,000 plus interest. That's over $100,000 now." Marcus's face went gray. He didn't know his bookie was here, didn't know his debts were about to become very, very public. "But gambling isn't Marcus's only problem," I continued. "He's also been running romance scams, targeting lonely women, widows, elderly ladies looking for love. He charms them, makes them believe he cares, and then he takes their money." I gestured to the back left section of the church. "Gloria Henderson from Savannah. Would you stand up, please?" An older black woman stood, dignified despite her pain. "Gloria, how much did Marcus take from you?" $40,000. Her voice was strong. "He told me he needed it for an investment, said he'd double my money. I never saw a penny of it." "Thank you, Gloria. You can sit down." I pointed to another woman, Patricia Moore from Birmingham. Another woman stood. Younger this time, maybe 50. "He took my entire retirement fund," she said. $62,000. I almost lost my house. One more, Jennifer Walsh, right here in Atlanta. A third woman stood. $35,000. "He told me he loved me. He told me we were going to get married." Then he disappeared. The church was in chaos now. People whispering, crying, shouting. Some were on their phones, probably already posting to social media. The reporter in the back was recording everything. I turned back to Marcus. He looked like a cornered animal, desperate, dangerous. "So, let me make sure everyone understands," I said. "This man targeted me because I built a successful business, because I have money, because I'm a good woman with a kind heart who believes in helping people." I walked closer to him. He sent his accomplice to pretend to be homeless so I would take her in. He courted me for 3 years, proposed in front of our church, planned this elaborate wedding, all so he could get access to my accounts and my grandmother's inheritance. Patricia Wellington was on her feet now. "This is slander. You're lying. My son would never—" I smiled at her. "Oh, Patricia, I was hoping you'd speak up." I pulled out another document, held it up. "This is an email from you to Marcus sent 3 months ago. Would you like me to read it out loud?" Patricia's face went white. I read anyway. "Son, the old woman's lawyer confirmed it. Victoria inherits $2.3 million on her wedding day. Make sure that wedding happens. We can deal with her later." The church exploded. People were on their feet now, shouting, crying. Someone threw something at Marcus. Security was trying to maintain order. "Patricia Wellington," I said, cutting through the noise. "You knew about this from the beginning. You raised your son to be a con man. You sent him to steal from me. And you had the audacity to sit in the front row of my wedding, waiting to spend money that was never yours." Patricia tried to run, but Monica was blocking the aisle, and behind Monica were church members who had heard enough. "You're not going anywhere, Patricia. The police are already on their way." I turned to face Destiny, the woman I had saved, the woman who had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. And you. I walked toward her slowly. She was crying now, mascara running down her face, that white dress she wore as a final insult now stained with her own tears. I pulled you out of poverty. I gave you everything. A job, a career, a future. I bought Christmas presents for your son. I sat with you when you cried about being alone. I called you sister. I stood over her, let her feel how small she was. And you repaid me by sleeping with my fiancé on my desk. In my office. The office I built with my own 2 hands. Destiny looked up at me. Miss James, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He told me you didn't deserve what you had. He told me we were going to be together. He used me, too. I laughed. Actually laughed. He used you, girl. You were his partner. You were in on this from the beginning. You weren't a victim. You were an accomplice. I turned away from her. But here's the good news, Destiny. You two deserve each other. And where you're going, you'll have plenty of time together. Right on cue, the church doors opened. 2 police officers walked in, followed by 2 more. Marcus Wellington, one of them said. Destiny Brooks, you're both under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and theft. Marcus tried to run. Actually tried to run in his tuxedo in front of 300 witnesses. The officers caught him before he made it 3 steps. You can't do this, he screamed. I'm the victim here. She set me up. I watched them put handcuffs on him, watched them read him his rights, watched the man I almost married get dragged out of the church like the criminal he was. Destiny went quieter. She didn't fight, just cried as they led her away, past the guests, past the flowers, past the life she thought she was going to steal. And Patricia Wellington. She was escorted out by security, screaming about lawyers and lawsuits. Her perfect image shattered in front of everyone she had ever tried to impress. The church was in chaos, but I stood at the altar calm, peaceful, free. Carmen came up beside me, put her hand on my shoulder. How do you feel? I looked at her, smiled. I feel like myself again. The pastor, who had been standing there in shock through the entire thing, finally found his voice. I don't know what to say. I've never seen anything like this in 40 years of ministry. I turned to him. Pastor Williams, I'm sorry for disrupting the service, but I think we can all agree that this wedding needed to be stopped. He nodded slowly. Indeed it did. I faced the congregation one last time. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I know this isn't the wedding you expected, but I hope you understand why I did what I did. I took a deep breath. For 3 years, I loved a man who saw me as nothing but a paycheck. For 2 years, I trusted a woman who was plotting my destruction. I was about to lose everything I worked my whole life for. My voice broke slightly, but I pushed through. But my grandmother taught me something. She taught me that when someone shows you who they really are, you don't cry, you don't beg, you make a plan, and you execute it. I held up my hand showing my empty ring finger. Today was supposed to be the day I became Mrs. Marcus Wellington. Instead, it's the day Victoria James took back her power. Applause started somewhere in the back. Then it spread. People were standing, clapping, cheering. Women were crying, but not tears of sadness, tears of recognition, tears of solidarity. I had come to this church expecting to be betrayed. I left it victorious. The reception venue had been transformed into a celebration of a different kind. We had already paid for the food, the flowers, the DJ, the open bar. Carmen said we might as well use it. And honestly, after what I had been through, I needed to dance. The 300 guests who witnessed the most dramatic wedding in Atlanta history followed us to the reception hall. Some came out of curiosity, some came to support me, and some came because they wanted to be part of the story that everyone would be talking about for years. The screens that were supposed to show a slideshow of me and Marcus now displayed a simple message. Victoria James is free. My sister circle surrounded me at the head table. Carmen, Monica, Denise. The women who had stayed up all night helping me plan this. The women who had always had my back. Girl Monica said, pouring champagne into my glass. That was the most gangster thing I have ever seen in my entire life. I took a sip. It felt good. Everything felt good. The DJ put on music. People started dancing. The food was served, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I actually enjoyed myself. Throughout the evening, people came up to me. Some I knew, some I didn't. A young woman, maybe 25, approached with tears in her eyes. "Miss James, I just wanted to say thank you. I was in a relationship with a man just like Marcus. Your story gave me the courage to leave." I hugged her. That's all I wanted. If my pain could save someone else, it was worth it. An older woman came next. "Gloria Henderson, one of Marcus's victims. I never thought I'd see justice," she said. "I thought he'd gotten away with it. But you stopped him. You stopped him for all of us." We held each other for a long moment. Two women who had been targeted by the same predator. Two women who had survived. The reporter, Jasmine King, found me near the dessert table. "Miss James," she said, "this story is going to be huge. I've already gotten calls from 3 national outlets wanting interviews. How do you feel about going public?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to disappear, to process everything in private, to heal quietly. But another part of me knew that my story could help other women, could warn them, could teach them. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's make sure everyone knows what happened here today." By midnight, the story was everywhere. Atlanta Buzz had posted the article with the headline, "Bride Exposes Cheating Groom at Altar in Most Epic Wedding Takedown Ever." Social media exploded. The video clips that guests had taken were being shared thousands of times. My name was trending on Twitter. Comments poured in from women all over the country. "Queen behavior. This is how you handle betrayal. Victoria James is my new hero. Someone give this woman a reality show." I read some of the comments and smiled. But I also knew that the public attention was temporary. What mattered was what came next. The police had taken Marcus and Destiny to the county jail. Based on the evidence that Xavier had provided, plus the testimony of Marcus's other victims, they were both facing serious charges: federal wire fraud, conspiracy to commit theft, identity fraud, and in Destiny's case, accessory to all of it. Carmen had been on the phone with prosecutors all evening. "They're looking at 15 to 20 years for Marcus," she told me. "Destiny might get 5 to 7 if she cooperates. If she doesn't, she's looking at 10. And Patricia Carmen smiled. "No criminal charges yet, but the civil suits are coming. Gloria, Patricia Moore, Jennifer Walsh, they're all filing. And with the evidence we have, Patricia's assets will be frozen by Monday." I nodded. It wasn't about revenge. It was about consequences. It was about making sure they could never do this to anyone else. Around 1 a.m, the reception started winding down. Guests came to say goodbye, to wish me well, to tell me how inspired they were. My mother found me standing by the window looking out at the Atlanta skyline. "Baby," she said, putting her arm around me, "I'm so proud of you." I leaned into her. "Thanks, Mama. Your grandmother would be proud too. She raised you for a moment like this." I touched the letter in my pocket. Nana Ruth's final words to me. I had read it so many times tonight that I had memorized it. "I know she would," I said. I felt her with me the whole time. We stood there in silence for a moment. Mother and daughter, survivors of different storms, but survivors nonetheless. "What are you going to do now?" she asked. I thought about the question, really thought about it. "I'm going to take some time off," I said. "Take care of myself. Remember who I was before Marcus Wellington walked into my life. That sounds good, baby. That sounds real good." And then I smiled. "Then I'm going to build an even bigger empire. One that no man can ever touch." My mother laughed. "That's my girl." The next few days were a whirlwind. The story went national. Good Morning America reached out. The View wanted me on. Essence magazine wanted to do a cover story. I said yes to some, no to others. I was strategic about it, just like Nana Ruth taught me. The legal proceedings moved faster than anyone expected. With Xavier's recordings and the evidence from my grandmother's private investigator, the case against Marcus was airtight. He tried to make a deal, tried to cooperate, tried to throw Destiny under the bus to save himself. But the prosecutors weren't interested. They had enough evidence to bury both of them. Marcus Wellington was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Destiny Brooks got 12. She refused to cooperate, refused to testify against Marcus. Loyalty to the end. Stupid loyalty, but loyalty. Patricia Wellington lost everything. The civil suits drained her accounts. The public humiliation destroyed her social standing. Last I heard, she was living in a one-bedroom apartment in a suburb of Macon, too ashamed to show her face in Atlanta. The women Marcus had scammed received restitution from his seized assets. It wasn't everything they had lost, but it was something. Justice, even if imperfect. And me, I went back to work after 2 weeks off. Walked into James' creative agency like nothing had happened. Except everything had happened. And everyone knew it. My employees gave me a standing ovation when I walked through the door. "Welcome back, boss," one of them said. "We missed you." I smiled. "I missed you too. Now let's get back to work." The publicity from the wedding actually helped my business. Clients saw a woman who was strong, strategic, unbreakable. They wanted that energy representing their brands. Within 6 months, James' creative agency grew from a $3 million company to a $5 million company. We hired 20 new employees, moved into bigger offices, landed clients I had only dreamed of before. My grandmother's inheritance sat in the trust untouched. I didn't need it. I had built my success on my own terms. The money was security, not survival. And Marcus sat in a federal prison cell watching my success from behind bars. Every magazine cover, every news interview, every award and accolade. He tried to write me letters. I never opened them. He tried to call collect from prison. I blocked the number. He tried to reach me through intermediaries, begging for forgiveness, claiming he had changed. I didn't care. That chapter of my life was closed. Permanently. Some people asked me if I felt bad for him, if I ever regretted destroying his life so publicly. My answer was always the same. I didn't destroy his life. He destroyed his own life. I just made sure everyone saw it. 6 months after the wedding that never was, I woke up in my condo and realized something. I was happy. Not the fake happiness I had been performing with Marcus, not the exhausted happiness of working myself to death. Real, genuine, deep in my bones happiness. I lay in bed for a few extra minutes, something I never used to do. I watched the sunrise through my window. I listened to the quiet of the morning, and I thanked God for everything. For my grandmother's wisdom, for my friend's loyalty, for my own strength, for the disaster that turned out to be a deliverance. My phone buzzed. A text from Carmen. "Brunch today. Don't be late. We're celebrating." I smiled. The Sister Circle brunches had become a monthly tradition. First Sunday of every month, rain or shine, a time to connect, to laugh, to support each other. I got up, made myself a real breakfast, not the rushed coffee and toast I used to survive on. Took my time getting ready. Put on clothes that made me feel beautiful, not clothes designed to impress a man. The restaurant was a new place in Buckhead. Upscale but comfortable. The kind of place where women like us could take up space without apology. Carmen, Monica, and Denise were already there when I arrived. They stood up to hug me as they always did, as they always would. "Look at you," Monica said, stepping back to admire me. Glowing. Absolutely glowing. "It's called Peace," I said. "Highly recommend it." We sat down, ordered mimosas, toasted to another month of survival and success. Denise pulled out her phone. "I have to show you something." She turned the screen toward me. It was an article from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The headline read, "Victoria James, named Atlanta's most influential entrepreneur under 40. I stared at it, read the headline 3 times to make sure it was real. "When did this come out?" "This morning." Denise was beaming. "They list all your accomplishments. The business growth, the foundation you started, the mentorship program, everything." I took her phone, read the article slowly, savoring every word. Victoria James, founder of James Creative Agency, has emerged as one of Atlanta's most dynamic business leaders. After overcoming a highly publicized personal betrayal, James channeled her experience into unprecedented professional growth and community service. Her company has grown by 60% in the past year, and her newly established Nana Ruth Foundation has provided grants to over 50 women entrepreneurs in underserved communities. When asked about her success, James offered simple wisdom. "Never let anyone make you small. Your worth isn't determined by who chooses you. It's determined by who you choose to be." I handed the phone back to Denise, blinked back tears. "Look at God," Monica said softly. Look at what he brought you through." Carmen raised her glass. "To Victoria James, the baddest woman in Atlanta." We drank. We laughed, we cried a little, and then we ate too much food and talked about everything and nothing. This was my life now. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but mine. After brunch, I drove to the cemetery, to Nana Ruth's grave. I brought fresh flowers, pink roses her favorite. I sat on the bench next to her headstone and just talked to her the way I always did. "I did it, Nana. I protected my crown. I told her about the article, about the business, about the foundation in her name, about the women we were helping. I told her I still missed her every day, that I still heard her voice in my head when I had to make hard decisions, that I still felt her presence guiding me, and I told her about the peace I had finally found, the peace that came from knowing exactly who I was and what I deserved." The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere a bird was singing, and I could have sworn I heard her laugh, that warm, knowing laugh she used to have when I finally understood something she had been trying to teach me. I stayed until the sun started to set. Then I kissed my fingers and pressed them to her headstone. "See you next month, Nana. I love you." I walked back to my car feeling lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Miss James, this is Jerome Washington. I have some news about the trust. Call me when you have a moment." I called him on the drive home. "Miss James," he said, "I have good news. The final audit of the trust is complete. Your grandmother's estate, after all investments and interest, now totals $3.1 million. I almost swerved off the road. $3.1 million. "Yes, ma'am. Your grandmother was a wise investor. The money has grown significantly since her passing." I pulled over, took a deep breath. "Mr. Washington, I want you to set up a meeting with the Nana Ruth Foundation Board. I have some ideas about how to use this money." "Of course, Miss James. What did you have in mind?" "My grandmother taught me that when God blesses you, you bless others. It's time to bless a whole lot of others." I spent the next few months restructuring the foundation. We expanded our grant program. We created a scholarship fund for young women from Southside Atlanta who wanted to go to college. We built a small business incubator for women entrepreneurs who needed space to grow. Every dollar I gave away felt like a dollar invested, in the future, in other women, in my grandmother's legacy. The local news covered the foundation's expansion, then the national news, then the philanthropic magazines. Victoria James. From betrayal to benefactor, one headline read. Another said, "How one woman turned heartbreak into hope." I didn't do it for the attention, but the attention brought more donors, more resources, more opportunities to help. One evening I was leaving the office late. The building was quiet, the city lights sparkled through my window, my phone rang. "Carmen, what are you doing tonight?" "Working, like always." "Wrong answer. Come to the salon. Monica has something for you." "What kind of something?" "Just come. Trust me." I drove to Monica's salon, curious and a little suspicious. My friends had been acting strange all week, secretive looks, hushed conversations that stopped when I walked into the room. When I opened the door to the salon, I understood why. Surprise. The place was filled with people, my employees, my clients, women I had mentored, women the foundation had helped, my mother, Carmen, Denise, Monica. A banner hung from the ceiling. "Happy birthday, Victoria." I had completely forgotten. 40 years old today. And I hadn't even remembered. Monica came forward grinning. "You didn't think we'd let you turn 40 without a party, did you?" I looked around at all these faces, all these people who loved me, who supported me, who celebrated me. A year ago I thought my life was over. I thought I would never trust again, never love again, never feel whole again. But here I was, surrounded by more love than I had ever known, stronger than I had ever been, happier than I had ever imagined. Carmen handed me a drink. "Happy birthday, Queen." "How does 40 feel?" I smiled. 40 feels like freedom. 40 feels like power. 40 feels like just the beginning. And it was. It really was. 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of my new house, a beautiful place in Buckhead that I bought with my own money. 4 bedrooms, a garden that I was learning to tend, space to breathe, space to grow, space to be. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. I had a glass of wine in my hand and nowhere I needed to be. This was peace, real peace, the kind I had been chasing my whole life without knowing it. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Tori, it's Xavier. Jalen wanted me to send you something." Attached was a video. A little boy, Destiny's son, now 7 years old. He was holding up a drawing, a picture of a woman with brown skin and a crown on her head. Auntie Tori. "Thank you for the birthday present. I love you." I smiled. Xavier had custody of Jalen now. He was raising the boy right, keeping him away from his mother's mistakes, giving him a chance at a normal life. I had set up a college fund for Jalen. Not because I forgave Destiny, I never would, but because that little boy was innocent. He didn't choose his mother, he didn't choose this life, and he deserved better than to pay for her sins. I texted Xavier back, "Tell him I love him too, and tell him Auntie Tori is proud of him." I put my phone down, went back to watching the sunset. A year. It had been a full year since that wedding day. 12 months of healing, 12 months of growing, 12 months of becoming the woman I was always meant to be. Marcus was still in prison. He had 14 more years to serve. Sometimes I wondered if he thought about me, if he regretted what he did, if he understood how completely he had destroyed his own life. But mostly, I didn't think about him at all. He was a ghost from another lifetime, a lesson I had learned, a chapter that was closed. Destiny was in a women's facility upstate. She had tried to write me once, a long letter full of apologies and explanations and pleas for forgiveness. I read it, then I burned it. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed her. My healing didn't depend on absolving her sins. I could move forward without looking back. And that's exactly what I did. Patricia Wellington had disappeared from Atlanta society completely. Last I heard, she was living somewhere in Florida, far from anyone who knew her name. Her reputation was destroyed. Her money was gone. Her son was in prison. Some people said karma got her. I said consequences got her. There's a difference. As for me, James Creative Agency was now a $10 million company. We had offices in Atlanta and Charlotte with plans to expand to Houston next year. I had been featured in Forbes Black Enterprise and Essence magazine. I had given a TEDx talk about overcoming betrayal. I had become a mentor to young Black women entrepreneurs across the country. The Nana Ruth Foundation had given out over 200 grants. We had sent 47 young women to college. We had helped launch 32 new businesses. Every time I signed a check, I thought of my grandmother. Every time I mentored a young woman, I channeled her wisdom. Every time I made a decision, I asked myself what she would do. She was still with me, always would be. There was a knock on my balcony door. I turned around. Carmen was standing there with Monica and Denise. "Are you ready?" Carmen asked. "The car is here." I looked at my friends, my sisters, the women who had stood by me through everything. Tonight was the Nana Ruth Foundation's annual gala. 1,000 guests, the mayor, business leaders, celebrities, all coming together to celebrate what we had built, and I was the guest of honor. I finished my wine, took one last look at the sunset. "Let's go make Nana proud," I said. The gala was beautiful. A ballroom transformed into a wonderland of lights and flowers and hope. Tables filled with people who believed in our mission. Screens showing videos of the women we had helped, the lives we had changed. I took the stage to give my speech, looked out at 1,000 faces, took a deep breath. A year ago, I stood at an altar ready to marry a man who saw me as nothing but a paycheck, ready to give my life to someone who was planning to take everything I had built. I paused, let the memory wash over me. But I didn't become a victim that day. I became a warrior. Because my grandmother taught me that when someone shows you who they really are, you don't cry, you don't beg, you make a plan, and you execute it. Applause rippled through the room. I'm not here tonight to talk about what was done to me. I'm here to talk about what we can do for others. The Nana Ruth Foundation was built on a simple principle: when God blesses you, you bless others. I looked at my friends in the front row, at my mother crying with pride, at the women we had helped sitting throughout the ballroom. Every woman in this room has a story. Some of you have been betrayed, some of you have been underestimated, Some of you have been told you're not enough. I leaned into the microphone. But I'm here to tell you something. You are enough. You have always been enough, and anyone who makes you feel otherwise is not worthy of your light. I smiled. So tonight, let's celebrate. Not just the foundation, not just the grants and the scholarships. Let's celebrate us, the women who refuse to be broken, the women who turn pain into power, the women who lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. I raised my glass to Nana Ruth, to the strong black women who came before us, and to all of you who are building a future that our grandmothers could only dream of. The room rose to its feet, 1,000 people applauding, cheering, celebrating. I had come so far, from that broken woman on her office floor, from that betrayed bride at the altar, from that girl from Southside Atlanta who was told she would never amount to anything. I was Victoria James, entrepreneur, philanthropist, survivor, queen, and I was just getting started. After the gala, I went home alone. Not because I was lonely, because I chose solitude, because I had learned to love my own company, because I finally understood that being single was not a curse, it was a gift. I poured myself a cup of tea, sat on my couch, looked at the photo of Nana Ruth that I kept on my mantel. I did it, Nana. Everything you taught me, everything you sacrificed for. It wasn't for nothing. I could almost hear her response. I know, baby. I always knew you would. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the revenge, the healing, the growth, the woman I had become. If I could go back and talk to that girl who walked into her office a year ago and found her world falling apart, I would tell her this. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever felt. But the pain won't last forever, and on the other side of that pain is a woman you haven't met yet. A woman who is stronger than you can imagine. A woman who will take everything that tried to destroy her and turn it into fuel. I sipped my tea, smiled to myself. Marcus Wellington thought he was going to take everything from me. Instead, he lost everything he had. Destiny Brooks thought she was going to steal my life. Instead, she lost her freedom. Patricia Wellington thought she was going to spend my grandmother's money. Instead, she lost every penny of her own. And me, I kept everything. My business, my money, my friends, my dignity, my peace. But most importantly, I kept me. The me that I forgot about while I was busy trying to be someone else's future. The me that I sacrificed while I was trying to save everyone else. The me that I almost lost while I was giving myself away. I found her again. And she is magnificent. If you're watching this and you're in a situation where someone is using you, betraying you, making you feel less than you are, I want you to know something. You are not stuck. You are not stupid. You are not worthless. You are a queen who forgot she was wearing a crown. Pick it up, dust it off, put it back on your head, and never ever let anyone take it from you again. My name is Victoria James. I almost gave my life to a con man. Instead, I gave him exactly what he deserved. And if you ever need to remember your power, remember my story. Then go write your own.